face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. Suddenly there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with them. Then Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will make 3 dwellings here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, suddenly a bright cloud overshadowed them. And from the cloud a voice said, "This is my Son, the Beloved. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell to the ground and were overcome by fear. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Get up and do not be afraid." And when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus himself alone. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus ordered them, "Tell no one about the vision until after the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The Gospel of Christ. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in Christ's sight. Amen. Please be seated. Today is Transfiguration Sunday. This is a changeover narratively from the Epiphany season to the Passion season. During the last few weeks, we have seen Jesus perform many miracles: the feeding of the 5,000, the Canaanite woman's daughter, whom Jesus healed without even having to go see the girl, the healing of the sick in Gennesaret. They brought all who were sick to him and begged him that they might touch even the fringe of his cloak, and all who touched it was healed. Just prior to this gospel passage today in Matthew 16:21, it states, "From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo great suffering at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and be killed, and on the 3rd day be raised." So from now on, we journey with Jesus through Lent, the Passion, and finally the Resurrection. Our gospel today is the start of that journey, and I thought there's a couple of things we might look at in this passage. Jesus took with him Peter and James and his brother John and led them up to a high mountain. So this is a gospel from Matthew, and Matthew often makes references to mountains. It's on a mountain that Jesus taught the Beatitudes. It's on a mountain that Jesus, after his resurrection, commissions his disciples of all nations commissions his disciples to go and make disciples of all nations. Matthew seems to want to let his readers know this is important when there's a mountain involved. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. With Jesus appeared Moses and Elijah. So one thing that was common between Moses and Elijah is that they had both encountered the presence of God on Mount Sinai of Horeb. Moses' shining face after speaking with God reflects God's glory, not his own. Similarly, Jesus' shining face and clothes also reflect God's glory. Then from a cloud a voice says, "This is my Son, the Beloved. With him I am well pleased." We know this is verbatim what was said during Jesus' baptism. So this doesn't really give us, the readers, any new information. However, it is a new revelation to Peter, James, and John, because they weren't at Jesus' baptism. They were yet to be recruited as disciples. But then we hear further, "Listen to him." We, the audience, the disciples, are called to listen to his teachings. And the last part of the gospel I wanted to point to is when the disciples fell to the ground in fear. Jesus touched them, saying, "Get up and do not be afraid." I see in this, despite all of these awesome experiences, Jesus is still there as a friend. This week, we begin our Lenten journey on Ash Wednesday. And I was wondering, how does this reading help lead us into Lent? The proclamation at the end, "Listen to him," I think has resonance for Lent. Can we try this season to really listen to what Jesus is telling us? Maybe it's giving up chocolate, but maybe it is listening to the needs in our community and being the hands and feet of Jesus, filling our own little food cupboard or contributing to the Bolton exchange. Maybe it is listening and entering into a closer relationship with Jesus, allowing his grace to work in us. And finally, I sat with the image of the transfigured Jesus, the same, but different. Perhaps our encounter with the transfigured Jesus should lead our church to be a transfigured community, the same, yet different. We can be present in the old way, valuing our traditions and our beautiful building, but also shining with the new, a beacon to welcome others in, a shining new way to reflect God's glory to our community. This Lent, we are looking to volunteer at the exchange, St. James in action, shining faces and all. Some of us are walking in the coldest night of the year fundraiser. We're hoping to spread some good news and love as we go. So I wish all of you a meaningful and impactful Lent season. And my advice, listen to him.